Okay, welcome to another edition of Real Estate Investor Talk. And I'm here with Mark Waxberger. Mark is the Managing Director of the Capital Group. First of all, Mark, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Tell us, first of all, where it all started for you in property and real estate, and obviously ending up in the capital.
I started off in mergers and acquisitions, finishing university finance and accounts, doing 4 years of corporate finance, and then a year saying I want to start something, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I really came across a mathematical equation that said residential property is cheap to lease and apartments are expensive. And can I lease residential property, apartments in Sandton, 10,000 odd rand a month, and sublet it for 1,500 rand a night to compete with the hotels in Sandton.
Right.
And from then, it actually just became a business that grew from leasing and subletting serviced apartments, very focused on corporate clients, to a full-fledged hotel group that today includes hotels, apartments, and conferencing.
Wind back a little bit to the mergers and acquisitions when you fast-tracked to the capital, and I know we're going to get into that in a little bit more detail.
As anyone knows in property, if you don't get the tenant first, you have no property at the end of the day. There's no value in your property. Right. So my first bit was getting the tenants very happy, profitable for the business, such that we could grow and have more and more apartments under management, and then ultimately be able to afford to buy property, and then ultimately where we are today, develop property.
Where did the whole idea sort of emanate from?
The idea came from a building called Hydro Park, that a friend of mine was an estate agent who sold the building off plan. 240 apartments, all in one place, and what happened is every buy-to-let investor put their hand up and said, I'm looking for a tenant. But tenants, you have to manage them, and you have risk. Are they a good tenant, or are they a bad tenant? What we did is we put up our hands and said, 240 of you are looking for a tenant, we will be that tenant, okay? And 70 of the apartment owners went for it. Why? Because we're a great tenant. We take all the risk out of the equation. We signed 3-year leases. We took on all the management issues about geyser bursting, etc., etc. And the money was in the bank on the first of the month without fail. And being a great tenant that we were, they were, for us, prepared to take a slightly lower return than what they could have got in the market, but have absolutely no hassle and know exactly what the shortfall was on their bonds. So today we have over 290 separate landlords as individual unit owners, renting their apartments to us. Some of them, the ones that we've sold off to them and leased back. In other words, you could buy an apartment today from us with us in place as the tenant for 3 years.
Right.
And some where people bought and then they rented to us, but it concentrated in one building.
So what was your first development under the capital?
So we rebranded in about 2014, and so we also started developing apartment hotels that fit our model. First of which is called the Capital Empire today, next to Sandton City. It was a piece of land that we bought from Investec. I think we got it at a fair price, but we were able to make the zoning work very well because they had a very low density allowance, and we were able to come in as a hotel and not use up density and take a lot of bulk and unlock that project.
So it started off at the Empire. What was next thereafter?
Next we developed the Capital on Bath in Rosebank. Very similar concept except without conference, so still a hotel and apartments, where we design our hotels backwards and we say, what will the corporate client pay per room per night? We find that corporates today in Sandton and Rosebank have very strict budgets. Times are tough, so they will target a price. So they'll say 1,300 rand a night. That's the corporate rate. Take it or leave it. Right. And we actually take that and we run it through our model backwards to say, okay, what do we need to build? What do they want? What do they need? And what do we need to build to meet those corporate rates. And the Capital on Bath was designed very much with that in mind, where it's very lean and mean, but it wins on price all day, every day.
Right. You've now also expanded to Durban and Cape Town. Tell us a little bit about that.
Cape Town was next. There we fit out a building called Mirage with 3 floors. We did the internal fit out to make it an apartment hotel. Going into Umhlanga was a different story. Umhlanga was a developer of the Pearls, and they wanted us to come in as the operator. And there we were simply a tenant of the people that already bought off plan from them as a developer. Right. And again, a great tenant, 3-year leases, no hassle. So we have 140 apartments at the Pearls. And in between all of this, we have in Menlyn, as well as our other national centre, we have the capital, Menlyn Main.
Great.
Our stats show we are 25% less expensive than our competitors, which are some of the kind of hotel brand names that you know around today. And how we do that is by sharing apartments and hotels and amortizing the costs of developing it. There's a synergy, there's a benefit, a cost saving, which we're able to pass on to the client. And we also cut out a lot of unnecessary frills that we found in the hotel sector today. For example, turn down service, where corporate today is not interested in turn down service. I mean, they want it, but they don't need it. Right. We say cut it out, pass on the saving to the client. The other reason and the other stay is we have a brain drain in South Africa. And when you look at corporates today, they have to import skills. It could be people coming to upgrade the IT systems in the banks. And they come from Germany and India and all other places because unfortunately we don't have those skills in this country today. And when they need to work on a 2 or 3 week project, they want more space. They want an apartment hotel. So they want one of our apartments inside our hotels. They get all the benefits of the room service, security and the like, but they have the ability to self-cater as well.
Tell us a little bit about the conference side, because there's also, I mean, are you a typical hotel that does the apartments plus conference facility, as in the Morocco in particular?
So a huge amount of our clients come on a groups and conference basis. We have, as an example of the Capital on Park that we just opened, we have over 500 seats of conference. So we'll get big groups coming in for a conference, and they'll stay with us for 2 days for the conference. And of course we do all the food and beverage for them, and we run events for them, and we keep them one-stop shop for their conference really for the 3 days.
Excellent. Tell us a little bit about what's in it for the investor. Are there opportunities for the investor out there, and how does that look like?
So an investor who is in the buy-to-let market, they know that they can either go and take some savings every month and invest it in a RA or a pension fund, and historically that has done semi-decent returns. But getting into property sometimes is tough. You can buy an apartment and you can look for a tenant, and you can sometimes find a good tenant and sometimes not. We simply say you'll buy it with us as the tenant in place, and therefore you're buying basically an investment product. And historically, people who bought from us have had capital appreciation north of 10% year on year in their property value.
Pretty good. Mark, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think you've shared some great insights, and I think you created something of a disruptive product for the hotel sector and hospitality sector. So well done, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.